My name's Mark and you're listening to Headstraight. Hello you lot and welcome back. And today I'm answering the question, why do I feel disconnected from everyone? Because after you've made the change, after people have maybe got used to it, the noise dies down. Things are quieter now. Not calm, just quieter. The comments have stopped. No one's saying you've changed. No one's pushing back or making things awkward. And there's no obvious tension that you can point to. When you look from the outside, life seems to have gone back to normal. But as you move through your days, something feels different. You still turn up, still answer the messages, still laugh at the right moments, but later, when you're maybe walking home or when you're lying on your bed scrolling, you notice the feeling didn't stay with you. The moment happened, it passed, but it didn't settle inside you in the same way. And because nothing actually went wrong, because there was no argument or ending, it can feel strange to even say it out loud. You just know something has shifted. And you'll find yourself asking quietly, why do I feel more distant even though things are meant to be better now? This episode is about that feeling, the kind that shows up in normal, everyday ways. Not the pressure that came before, not what anyone said, but what's left behind once the noise fades. Now, this kind of disconnection doesn't announce itself. You don't wake up one day and realise something's gone. You kind of notice it gradually. You realise conversations end sooner than you expect, that hanging out feels fine, just shorter inside, that you don't feel the same pull to share things straight away. You might still enjoy people's company, still like them, still care, but something about the closeness feels different. And because the change is so quiet, you might keep checking yourself. Am I imagining this? Is this just me being weird? Is this what growing up feels like? Sometimes all of that overlaps, but noticing a change doesn't mean that you're creating one. Often, it just means that you're paying attention to something that's already happening. Now, as you're listening to this, you don't need to work anything out. You don't need to decide what it means yet. Just notice whether this sounds familiar as part of your daily life. That's enough. Now let's talk about being with people but it not quite feeling right, because this is where the feeling gets confusing. You're still around people, still part of things, still included. You might still be sitting with friends, laughing, talking, passing time, and nothing feels wrong in the moment. But later, when the noise settles, you realise something. You don't feel as full as you expected to. Not empty, not upset, just a little lighter. Like the moment happened around you instead of with you. You replay bits of it, not to overthink, but to check whether there was something more that you were meant to feel. And the answer keeps coming back the same. Nothing was wrong, but something was missing. That's what makes this kind of distance hard. There was no problem to fix, no one to blame, just a quiet gap that you keep noticing as you move through your days. So let me tell you how this fits with growing even when it hurts. Because this feeling doesn't mean changing was a mistake. It often shows up because you've changed. When you stop carrying every mood, when you stop filling every quiet moment, and when you stop bending just to keep things easy, your relationships adjust. Not in a dramatic way, not as punishment, just kind of naturally. Because some closeness was built around effort that you no longer give in the same way. That doesn't make it bad or fake, it just means that it belonged to a version of you that isn't leading anymore. And even when the change is healthy, it can still feel sad. Because you're not just moving forward, you're also leaving something behind. And there's often a quiet missing that shows up later. And this feeling rarely hits all at once. It turns up in small moments. Maybe when something happens and you pause, unsure who you'd tell first. When you start typing a message and then just stop. When you realise that you're handling things more on your own than before. You might notice it when things slow down, late at night or early in the morning, or during moments when you're usually distracted. And you might feel a little bit silly for it. Why do I feel like this when things are supposed to feel better? But missing something doesn't mean that you want it back exactly as it was. It means that you're noticing the cost of change, not just the benefit. You can be glad that you've grown and still miss what felt easier, closer, or more familiar before. That's not contradiction. That's just being human. Now, this is important. You don't need to turn this feeling into a problem. You don't need to rush past it. It isn't a sign to go backwards. It's just a moment to notice where you are now. Now, when life feels quieter in this way, it's natural to want to fill the gap, to reach out more, to explain yourself, to become louder or busier, or to step back into old roles just to feel solid again. Not because you want to undo yourself, but because gaps can feel uncomfortable. Silence gives you space for thought. Distance gives space for feeling. And filling that space can feel easier than sitting with it. But filling it too quickly can often get in the way of letting something new take shape. Now, this is really important for you to know. This part of your journey isn't about fixing distance. It's about staying present while things shift. You're not where you used to be, and you're not quite where you're going to end up. You're kind of in an in-between place. And this might look like noticing some friendships feeling different now, feeling closer to fewer people, but in a kind of a new way. Or it might look like letting some connections soften without forcing them back. Being in between can feel lonely, but it's also a place where things can realign. So, as we bring this episode to a close, I just want to tell you that this is still part of moving forwards. If things feel more distant right now, it doesn't mean that you've messed anything up. It means that you're walking through a change, not rushing past it. Some connections will deepen again, maybe slowly. Some are going to change shape, and some may fade. And none of that automatically means that you'll end up alone. It means that you're no longer forcing yourself into closeness that doesn't fit. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens when pressure hits during moments like this, when a setback hits harder than you expect and you wonder whether you're slipping back. Because setbacks don't cancel out growth, but how you understand them, especially when you're already feeling a bit unsettled, that is where we're going to go next. So, are you ready for it? Of course you are.